Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Saturday, August the 2nd. And welcome to our commentary. Just a little heads up. On Sunday night, we're going to be chatting with our friend George Rodriguez, and we'll be getting into this whole gerrymandering issue here in Texas, how we're going to be drawing up the districts and so on. So we'll have a pretty good explanation of that from George, who's very familiar with the topic, and we'll talk more specifically about what districts and what impact there could be in the election. So I just give you that heads up, and we should be uploading it sometime in the evening on Sunday night. So it'll come up in your, whether you follow me on X or whether you follow me on Facebook or on my blog or whatever, it'll be available Sunday night. I have a post over at the American Thinker today that I'm going to recommend, and it has to do with the Democrats and the reason they can't seem to get their act together. And this fellow Rui Teixeira, and I've spoken about him many times. I think the guy is a genius when it comes to analyzing the politics of the country, and particularly he goes beyond the personality politics and he gets into the trends and tendencies. And he's pointing out to the Democrats that nobody's trusting them right now. That's really what their problem is. It's not that people are madly in love with Trump or that, they think Trump walks on water. Some people do, of course, but most people, to them, Trump is a guy who's trying to fix problems. And that's how people see him, as someone who's trying to fix problems, not somebody who is, let's say, somebody who has all the answers, but they see him as a man of action, somebody who's trying to fix problems. They see the Democrats as the exact opposite, as a party that just wants to talk about Trump or complain, but doesn't have any solutions to anything. And that's how they see them. That's the reason why the Democrats are underwater in so many issues relative to Trump and the Republicans. And if you go through the list of issues, whether it's immigration, whether it's the economy, whether it's foreign policy, Trump is beating them right now. And again, I repeat, it's not because everybody loves what Trump is doing. It's because at least he's acting. He's, in the, out there on the platform trying to do something about the problems. He may be right, he may be wrong, but at least he is trying. The Democrats, on the other hand, don't have any solutions except Trump is a dictator and Trump is evil and this and this and that. And I just think that's just the bottom line. And on immigration in particular, the Democrats are so off base that it's completely Junior send me a message talking about illegal immigration. Junior, you're exactly right about that. So check out my post over at the American Thinker today. I think you're going to like it. I find it interesting, and I saw this story. I think it was yesterday. I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but we ran out of time, and I'm going to bring it up right now. And that is what just happened with the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. For those of you who don't know who that is, I guess that's the headquarters, if you will, for both PBS and NPR. That's what I think it is. Well, for much of the last 40 or 50 years, they've been obviously getting funds from the federal government to operate. But, now that the Republicans were threatening to cut the funding, they were telling us that, well, the public funding is only a small portion of our business. It's only a small portion. It's not, we can make up for it. Well, I don't know if that's true now that we hear the news that the Corporation of Public Broadcasting is actually going to be closing offices and laying off people. So that small contribution that they were telling us we were making, I guess it must have been big enough because they're cutting down size and they're laying off people and cutting down its operations. And again, as I've said many times, I don't have any problem with some of their programming. Now, I do think NPR in particular has gone zany, crazy to the left. That I do agree with. I used to listen to NPR before, and they were, I don't know, I could find something more reasonable there. But here in the last, particularly during the Trump years, they just went crazy left. And they really got into Trump derangement syndrome. And I think that has a lot to do with their failures. But anyway, so I guess they're going to have to ask you for more money if you watch PBS and NPR. That's the only way apparently they're going to make it. If you ask for more money, I don't know what else I can tell you. And if you want to send them money, that's okay with me. I mean, they do, for example, I think I mentioned this before, that one of their shows gets 3 or 4 million listeners. So if you have 3 or 4 million listeners, why are you even asking the federal government for money? And some of their Sesame Street characters are big symbols they make money from by themselves. So look, they're just going to have to do what everybody else has to do, which is to wake up in the morning and have a strategy and go out and sell advertising. That's what everybody else does in the real world. And let's see how popular they are. I think that they have some good programming, particularly on Sunday nights. These shows that they bring from London, I think those are good shows, and they have many fans who watch those shows. But they're going to have to do it on their own. No more public subsidy. But again, I go back to my point. They were telling us for years that the public funding was only a small portion of their business. And here they are, we cut the funding, and they're already talking about closing down operations at the end of December. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have NPR and PBS in a lot of markets. It may very well mean, though, that some of the markets may disappear or programming may be cut back. I guess it could mean that. Look, go out and sell advertising, go out and get your supporters to send you money, and good luck to you. I have no problems, nothing. I don't have any ill feelings toward NPR or PBS, but the days of subsidy are over. I mean, that's over. When you're running a $37 billion debt, the United States, that is, you simply cannot be throwing away money like that, like we used to. And there's other things that are going to happen, like the Department of Education and other things that are going to happen, and they should happen. They should happen. We'll get into that in another program. Well, you may remember a few weeks ago when the Supreme Court wrote that nationwide injunctions opinion, where they basically saying that nationwide injunctions that district judges were likely exceeding their authority by doing that. Well, I think most people got the message, but there are still some who haven't, and they're still trying to figure out how they can interfere with President Trump's policies. I think the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, is going to have to really come down hard on some of these district judges and say, hey, folks, that's not your job anymore. We told you not to do it. Because these nationwide injunctions, there's another one that came out with respect to ICE. I mean, which is ridiculous. But anyway, they keep writing these things. And I think it's about time that the Supreme Court shuts it down. Because if you can have district judges going around the Supreme Court or Supreme Court opinions, then that's going to make Supreme Court opinions rather irrelevant, to say the least. And it's also going to send a message to the President of the United States that, hey, you don't have to respect the opinion of the Supreme Court because these district judges aren't doing it either. And that's not, that would not be a healthy situation for the country, to have the Supreme Court basically not being taken seriously at all by the people in the country, and especially the judges. Well, I got to leave you with a little history today, on this day in history. On this day in history, 1990, August the 2nd, Iraq invaded Kuwait. Now, some of us are old enough to remember that. And that decision by Saddam Hussein to go into Kuwait, of course, that led to the first Gulf War. Then the ending of that war eventually got us into the second Iraq War. And all of it started on this day in 1990. And I always felt that we did a good job getting him out of Kuwait and driving him back to Iraq. I thought we did a good job, and I thought the first President Bush did a good job in doing that. But then came the Clinton presidency, when I really thought Bill Clinton did not enforce the ceasefire that we had with Iraq. And basically, Saddam Hussein was shooting at American planes or Allied planes. And, I don't know how else to tell you, but that really, I believe, the way Bill Clinton handled the situation with Saddam Hussein had a lot to do as to why we had to go back and finish the job. If Bill Clinton had handled the Iraq situation better and had been tougher on Saddam Hussein, I think he would have gotten the message. He probably would have been overthrown. But anyway, it's interesting to me because I remember this day quite well. August the 2nd, 1990, when Saddam Hussein went in, and that started a sequence of events that got us into the Gulf War and then the Iraq War and everything in between, which I thought was extremely bad for the region and for the world. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody have a great weekend. Remember, Sunday night, we're going to be talking about Texas and all the districts. The Democrats are going ballistic over these districts, but they do it the same way. I mean, they've done it in Illinois and Michigan, not Michigan, but Illinois and Maryland and Massachusetts and California. They do the same thing. So why not do it? And that's what's going to happen in Texas. It's already happening in Florida as well. Thank you for listening. Junior, thank you for listening as always. And thank you for your comments. And thanks to everybody else for bringing in some comments. And thanks to all of you for listening. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you Sunday night when we do our weekly show on Texas with George Rodriguez. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye, everybody.